Hello and welcome to Millennium News TV 24/7 Global News Update. Here are today's top stories. My name is Todd, and thank you for being with us. First, she saw the graphic cell phone video showing Ahmaud Arbery's shooting death in Georgia. The news that Breonna Taylor had been shot in her Kentucky home during a botched drug raid. But when Teresa Parks watched videos of the white Minneapolis police officer pressing his knee onto a black man's neck and heard George Floyd cry out for his mother as his life drained away, she was spurred not just to tears, but also to action after Floyd's May 2020 death. Parks and a friend formed a Black Lives Matter group in their hometown of Manhattan, Kansas, a largely white city that had elected no black leaders since 1969. Parks' activism led to her appointment to a task force that city leaders said was designed to make the community more welcoming to people from diverse backgrounds. Next news. Temperatures barely climbed into the 90s and only for a couple of days, but the discovery of the bodies of three women inside a Chicago senior housing facility this month left the city looking for answers to questions that were supposed to be addressed after a longer and hotter heat wave killed more than 700 people nearly 3 decades ago. Now the city and the country is facing the reality that because of climate change, deadly heat waves can strike just about anywhere, don't only fall in the height of summer, and need not last long. In quotes, hotter and more dangerous heat waves are coming earlier in May. And the other thing is we are getting older and more people are living alone, said Eric Kleinenberg, a New York University sociologist who wrote Heat Wave, a Social Autopsy of Disaster in Chicago, end quotes, about the 1995 heat wave, in quotes. It's a formula for disaster, end quotes. Next news. Two fires that merged to create the largest wildfire in New Mexico history have both been traced to planned burns set by U.S. forest managers as preventative measures, federal investigators announced Friday. The findings shift responsibility more squarely toward the U.S. Forest Service for initiating a natural disaster that has destroyed at least 330 homes as flames raged through nearly 500 square miles, that's 1,300 square kilometers, of high-altitude pine forests and meadows. The wildfire also has displaced thousands of residents from rural villages with Spanish colonial roots and high poverty rates, while unleashing untold environmental damage. Next news. Or more notably, the action of a school district police chief Other law enforcement officers moved swiftly to the center of the investigation into this week's shocking school shooting in Uvalde, Texas. The delay in confronting the shooter, who was inside the school for more than an hour, could lead to discipline, lawsuits, and even criminal charges against police. The attack that left 19 children and two teachers dead in a fourth grade classroom was the nation's deadliest school shooting in nearly a decade. And for 3 days, police offered a confusing and sometimes contradictory timeline that drew public anger and frustration. We're going to take a short break from the daily global English news of Millennium News TV 24/7. Please stay with us. Thank you so much. Thank you. Hello and welcome back to Millennium News TV 24/7 Global News Update. Here is the continuation of today's top stories. Thank you so much for being with us. One by one, they took the stage at the National Rifle Association's annual convention in Houston and denounced the massacre of 19 students and two teachers at an elementary school across the state. And one by one, they insisted that further restricting access to firearms was not the answer to preventing future tragedies. In quotes, the existence of evil in our world is not a reason to disarm law-abiding citizens, end quotes, said former President Donald Trump, who was among the Republicans who lined up to speak before the gun rights lobbying group Friday as thousands of protesters angry about gun violence demonstrated outside. In quotes, the existence of evil is one of the very best reasons to arm law-abiding citizens, end quotes, he said Friday. Next news. For a brief moment in 2012, it seemed like a national stalemate over guns was breaking. Adam Lanza, a 20-year-old gunman, had forced his way into a Connecticut elementary school and massacred 26 people, mostly children with an AR-15 style rifle. Flags flew at half staff. A sporting goods chain suspended sales of similar weapons. And longtime gun rights supporters from both parties in Congress said they were willing to consider new legislation. The issue was complex. Then President Barack Obama said, but everyone was obligated to try. Then, 1 week after the bloodshed at Sandy Hook Elementary, the most powerful gun lobby in the U.S. made its public position known, and the effort unraveled. Next news. Wayne Black was one of the few African Americans in the crowd, as about 100 people gathered recently at the Republican Party headquarters near Columbus, Georgia, to hear from U.S. Senate candidate and football legend Herschel Walker, a member of the Muskogee County Republican Executive Committee. Black said he found a certain promise in Walker's candidacy, a GOP voice who could appeal to African Americans and others in Georgia who have traditionally voted Democratic. In quotes, they identify with him from the standpoint of the American dream, end quotes. Black said, in quotes, you can start from nothing, and if you work hard, you can achieve the American dream, end quotes. Next news. Speakers at the National Rifle Association annual meeting assailed a Chicago gun ban that doesn't exist, ignored security upgrades at the Texas school where children were slaughtered, and roundly distorted national gun and crime statistics as they pushed back against any tightening of gun laws. In quotes, gun bans do not work. Look at Chicago. If they worked, Chicago wouldn't be the murder hellhole that it has been for far too long. End quotes. Chicago hasn't had a ban on handguns for over a decade. And in 2014, a federal judge overturned the city's ban on gun shops. Big supporters of the NRA, like Cruz, may well know this, given that it was the NRA that sued Chicago over its old handgun ban and argued the case before the U.S. Supreme Court, which ruled the ban unconstitutional in 2010. We're going to take a short break from the daily global English news of Millennium News TV 24/7. Please stay with us. Thank you so much. Thank Hello and welcome back to Millennium News TV 24/7 Global News Update. Here's a continuation of today's top stories. Thank you for being with us. To a threatening soundtrack of air raid sirens and booming artillery, civilians are fleeing towns and cities in eastern Ukraine as Russian forces advance, negotiating narrow apartment building staircases. Volunteers carry the elderly and infirm in their arms, in stretchers or in wheelchairs, to waiting minibuses, which then drive them to central staging areas and eventually to evacuating trains in other cities. In quotes, the Russians are right over there, and they're closing in on this location. End quotes. Mark Poppert, an American volunteer working with British charity Refugees. That's Refugease, said during an evacuation in the town of Bakhmut on Friday. Next news. The Biden administration has renewed a license partially exempting Chevron from sanctions on Venezuela so it can keep operating in the oil rich, socialist run nation. The license issued Friday by the U.S. Treasury Department allows the California based Chevron and other U.S. companies to perform only basic upkeep of wells. It operates jointly with state-run oil giant PDVSA, dashing the hopes of those who wanted to see a resumption of exports to ease pricing pressure at American pumps. Vladimir Putin's invasion of Ukraine and ensuing international sanctions targeting Russia's oil industry have led the Biden administration to reconsider long-standing policies isolating two other oil powers, Venezuela and Iran. Next news. Libya faces a serious security threat from foreign fighters and private military companies, especially Russia's Wagner Group, which has violated international law. UN experts said in a report obtained by the Associated Press. The experts also accused 7 Libyan armed groups of systematically using unlawful detention to punish perceived opponents, ignoring international and domestic civil rights laws, including laws prohibiting torture. In particular, migrants have been extremely vulnerable to human rights abuses and regularly subjected to acts of slavery, rape, and torture. Next news. Mohammed Ben Halima looks wary and frightened as he is led off a plane at Algiers airport, handcuffed with a security officer's arm wrapped around him. A team from Algeria's Rapid Intervention Force then puts him in their vehicle and whisks him to an unknown destination. The video was posted online on March 24th, 2022. 3 days later, Algerians watched on television as the 32-year-old confessed to involvement with an organization that authorities have listed as an Islamist terrorist group plotting against the Algerian government. Once a faithful servant of his homeland as a non-commissioned army officer, Ben Halima became a supporter of Algeria's pro-democracy movement, then a deserter who fled to Europe. Spain expelled him after Algeria issued a warrant for his arrest. We're going to take a short break from the daily global English news of Millennium News TV 24/7. Please stay with us. Thank you so much. Hello and welcome back to Millennium News TV 24/7 Global News Update. My name is Todd, and here's the continuation of today's top stories. Thanks for being with us. It's the end of an era for the famed Lido Cabaret on Paris Champs-Élysées. I hope I'm saying correctly. Amid financial troubles and changing times, the venue's new corporate owners is ditching most of Lido's staff and its high-kicking, high-glamour dance shows, which date back decades and inspired copycats from Las Vegas to Beirut, in favor of more modest musical reviews. Dancers, other employees, and union activists are gathering Saturday in front of the Lido to try to save their jobs and the history of the cabaret, known for its dinner theater and its Blue Bell Girls review. Artists plan a performance to pay homage to the venue. Next news. A 7-person civil jury in Virginia will resume deliberations Tuesday in Johnny Depp's libel trial against Amber Heard. What the jury considers will be very different from the public debate that has engulfed the high-profile proceedings. For 6 weeks, testimony focused on details of alleged abuse that Heard says she suffered at the hands of Depp. Heard has outlined more than a dozen specific instances where she says she was assaulted by Depp. Depp has denied any physical or sexual abuse and says Heard concocted the claims to destroy Depp's reputation. Depp's legions of online fans have focused on their belief that Heard has been untruthful, and that will determine the outcome. Next news. Kyle Lowry listened politely while Jimmy Butler shared the credit for Miami's Game 6 victory until his fellow All-Star took the humility too far and called his 47-point elimination avoiding performance decent, in quotes. It's expletive incredible, end quotes. Lowry corrected him, apologizing for his language to the TV cameras in the back of the room and begging not to be fined by the league. In quotes, it's incredible to have a guy like him next to me. I've played with some great players, and he's one of the best, end quotes. Butler scored 47 points, a career playoff high, and one of the best performances by a player facing, it's not written here. Next news, please. Thank you. A person with knowledge of the decision says Darvin Ham has accepted an offer to be the next head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers. The person spoke with the Associated Press on Friday on condition of anonymity because the deal has not been publicly announced. The 48-year-old Ham is getting his first head coaching job as the 28th coach in Lakers history. He has been an assistant to Mike Budenholzer with the Milwaukee Bucks since 2018, and he has played a significant role in their run to the 2021 NBA title. Thank you for watching, everyone. This has been the Daily Global English News Update of Millennium News TV 24/7. Thank you so much for watching. Please log in to get the latest news, views, and editorials on all of our social networking sites. That means excuse me, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. On TikTok, we are Millennium News 24. Also, on our YouTube channel, we are News Channel M24. Viewers now on both network broadcasting, Android and iOS devices, Apple TV, Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV. Also, all smart TV platforms. Please enjoy our entertainment and latest news and views and editorials. Our Millennium TV apps, Millennium TV USA Android, Millennium News Google, www.millenniumtv24.com. Please stay with Millennium News 24. Thank you, and peace out.